what does this week represent to you and to the program?
Well, it represents our players a chance to finally get on the field and play. You know, they work very, very hard, a lot of commitment. We've been here 27 days straight without a day off. We haven't practiced 27 days straight, but they've been here grinding the whole time, and just time to get on the field and play. You know, I think the commitment that this group has made, not just through fall camp, but through the summer, through the spring, very excited to see them have the opportunity to get out and compete.
What are the most important things you've seen through fall camp that have you encouraged about what this season could be?
I'm encouraged by the leadership, the togetherness, the willingness to grind. Um, you know, I don't think I have heard one bit of complaining through this camp. I mean, about anything, you know, which is so unusual, whether it be the food, the workload, the amount of hours we spend here. I just think it's a team that's very together. I think it's a team that's very driven, anxious, really, and so, you know, there's only so much practice you can do, you know, and hitting each other and things like that, and now it's time to compete. And I think, you know, we had a great team meeting last night. I really believe the players are very anxious for this week to get started, which tomorrow will be like our first day. We got a little jump on Cal Poly last week, but tomorrow will be our first day of preparation for Cal Poly. And, you know, I know our players are excited to play at home and go down the ramp for real.
And you mentioned Cal Poly. That's the last thing for me. What are some of the challenges that the Mustangs pose, and where does your focus need to be on Thursday night?
Well, the focus needs to be on ourselves. You know, no matter who we play, it's not about the opponent. It's about how we play. It's about how we execute. It's about how we prepare, how we practice, how we take care of our bodies, how we rest, how we sleep, how we hydrate. All of it goes into it. Part of camp is about educating the team about what it takes to be successful. All the little things, all the details that go into it. And you know, Cal Poly, I know have great coaches. I don't know much about their players quite yet. I'll really kind of dive into that today and tomorrow. But I'm sure they're like any other team coming out of camp. You know, it's a new season, high hopes. I know we're going to get their best for sure. But again, it's, you know, I don't care who we play. It's really about how we play. It's about how we prepare and how we execute. It's all about us. And so that's how we're going to go into every game. Focus on our opportunity to play, number one, which we're thankful for, but really how we focus on ourselves.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I know when you were here last, you know, that was only about 3 years ago, and I understand being a coach, you're a creature of habit, but how would you say that this version of Jeff Tedford coming into the first game is different than the one we saw before?
Really not much different, to tell you the truth. You know, it's the same type of preparation. It's the same type of attention to detail, the grind. You know, it's all the same, really. The only thing I can say that is probably a little bit different personally for me is I have a lot better appreciation for just being around the game, being around the kids, being around the staff, things like, not that I didn't appreciate it before, but when something comes to, you know, like retirement becomes a reality, and you know, you don't, the purpose that you have every day when you get out of bed is a little bit different now for me, because before it was just like it was so consistent all the time for however many years I coached, you know, that I don't know that I really ever took the time to be thankful for the purpose, the meaningful purpose I got up with every day, and now I do. It is a meaningful purpose. I told the players last night, you know, that you know, when I recovered from my health issue before, I had about a year there where it was kind of a challenge to find that purpose, and that these guys and this program and our opportunity is the purpose that I wake up with every single day, is to help lead these kids, not just on the football field, but as people. And so I enjoy it, and I think I appreciate it much more now.
And then just lastly, I know Jake came here initially because of you, and then you walked away from it. Now you've come back. How does it feel to finally be able to use the guy that came here for you?
It's awesome. Coming to work every day with Jake is just a true pleasure. He's the first guy in the building. He's the last one to leave. He's so dedicated. I worked with Jake when he was, I don't know, maybe 9 years old, so we go way, way back. And so finally to be able to be around him on the field. When I was here before, he was here, but he couldn't play, right? He had to sit out that year. So didn't have the same interaction really, but to be on the field every single day with him and see how focused he is, it's unbelievable. The way he prepares and what this means to him and his discipline. His purpose, the whole bit is he's an amazing player, not just his skill set, but his mindset and his preparation is one of the best I've ever seen. And he's unbelievably committed to this program, and it's a pleasure to come to work with him every day.
Coach, Kid Cambria with 24/7 Sports. I noticed on the depth chart you have freshman defensive tackle Gabriel Lightfoot listed as a starter, and I noticed, or I remember, fall camp, the freshmen got a lot of praise from coaches and teammates for being far along, especially in the defensive line. What can you say about Lightfoot and that freshman defensive line group as a whole?
It's pretty deep. The defensive line group, we're really pleased with how they have come in here and made a major impact on us right away. Gabriel's one of those guys that is very strong, hard-working guy inside. But the whole group is, you could go right down the line, with all those guys from Sione Noah to Jason Jacks. All of them have made a major impact, and I think we'll see time this year. So brought a lot of depth to that position for us, and, so really pleased in how far they've come through camp and how hard they've worked.
Another thing we talked about during fall camp, and I know we've asked you this, backup quarterback situation, and it looks like on the depth chart, Logan Fife is listed as number 2. Does that mean he's won the job over the other backups, or what does this mean going into week 1?
Yeah, going into week 1, Fife is the number 2 quarterback. If the second guy had to go in, it would be him. Very slight difference there, really just mainly about consistency and everything the quarterback's asked to do in our offense, controlling the game, managing the game, the whole bit. Jalen's right there too, so there's not much of a difference. You have to put somebody down, somebody's got to take the second reps, but they're very, very close. We feel good about both of them.
What did Logan do well in practice specifically that has earned your trust as the number 2?
Well, he's run the offense well. There's a lot to do as a quarterback, whether it be management of the clock. Going into camp, you tell him that the quarterback's job is, number 1, put the team in a position to be successful. Number 2, put the offense in a position to be successful. And number 3, put individuals around you in a position to be successful. So that's really their job. It's not so much about them. There's so much for them to do. So I felt like he was a little bit more consistent with that. And so we have trust that he could do that. Not that Jalen can't. Jalen can do it as well. But, Fife's the guy who's going to start the year as the number 2.
Last question for me, Coach. Are there any injuries that will impact how this 2D looks maybe next week or in the coming weeks?
Not as of now. We're pretty healthy. It's been a great camp that way. We really haven't had any season-ending injuries. There's all, of course, like any camp, there's bumps and bruises that keep people out for a couple days here and there. But for the most part, we're healthy and we're ready to go. I think we've gotten to a point where we're fresh. It was a grind for a long, and that's how camp goes. Camp goes, where you get really worn down, but then you let them recover. And like I said, today's their first full day that they've had away from this building. So, and it's not just the mental piece, or the physical piece, I should say. It's about the mental part of the game too, where they can feel refreshed and re-energized. And so really letting them have last night off and today off is really more about the mental aspect of just getting ready to go, getting re-energized.
Good morning, Coach. You've got a couple of other guys at the top of the depth chart who were transfers that came in, Nico Remigio, Raymond Scott. Are you expecting those guys to step up as leaders in addition to what they're able to do on the field because of their experience?
Yeah, you know, those guys, that's part of their job. I think Nico really proved early on, he was here all spring and really proved early on that not only his abilities on the field, but his work ethic, I think, has just stood out. And every single day, if you've been at practice and you watch him practice, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the guy is, every play he goes 100%, takes care of his body, just really committed to what's going on. And I think both those guys, anytime you come to a new place, it takes a while. You know, you're not immediately committed to the program until you can build some of that, you know, and I think that's not only what spring and summer and the last 27 days has done is really kind of built our commitment, strengthened our commitment for especially the new guys that are here, right, that have come in either as freshmen or those guys were here in the spring, but all the other guys that maybe came in the summertime, you start to build a bond with your teammates and what Fresno State football means to you and the standards on which we do things. Sometimes people need to learn that because it's not the same everywhere. And so I think most of our guys have done that. All of our guys have really done that. And those two guys we expect a lot of this year.
Have you announced or will you be announcing the captains soon? Can you share with us who the captains will be this season?
Yeah, the team votes on the captains. The offensive captain is Jake Hayner and the defensive captain is Evan Williams. And then there's a group of others below there that receive votes. We'll always go in the game with 4 captains, but those are the 2 main captains, and then we'll rotate the other 2 throughout the season.
Have you gotten a sense from this community about the fact that this season might be a little bit different with the landscape of college football? You know, we talked at media days about USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. Is this a more important season of Bulldog football in your mind than maybe some other years?
I've really tried I really haven't thought or focused on that. Really, we're kind of in our submarine here just to control the things we can control, and that's to try to reach our full potential each week. And you know, all that other stuff is going to be what it is, right? But we can't control that. You know, all we can do is control what we do here every single day, every single week.
You have a couple of unique opportunities this year, this season included, where you guys aren't playing today. There's a ton of college football games, including 5 Mountain West teams. Is today a day where you might actually be able to put your feet up and see some opponents or watch some college football?
Yeah, I actually asked Savannah if we could move this because originally it was 11 o'clock. I said, can we move it to 9 because my couch is calling my name. There's a couple games on it I want to watch. So, no, I'll definitely be watching that along with continuing to work on Cal Poly. But, of course, you know, it's an exciting day. Anytime college football kicks off, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to watching a few games on TV today.
Coach, you mentioned getting familiar with the Cal Poly staff so far, not as much the players. I'm curious if you have an opinion on Robbie Rouse returning to Fresno State. All-time leading rusher is their running backs coach, and he'll be in Bulldog Stadium on Thursday.
Yeah, you know, I don't know Robbie. I'm aware of his accomplishments here at Fresno State, which were great, but I have never met Robbie, but I hear a lot of great things about him, so I'm sure he's doing a great job there. If he took some of the things he learned here, for sure, you know, that I'm sure that will, as most people when they leave here, all those things they learned here kind of hopefully carry them through their career, and they can take some things from that. So I'm sure he's doing a great job.
Coach, one notably absent name on the depth chart is Justin Houston. Is he going to be available on Thursday?
No, Justin Houston will not. He will. He'll have half the season. He was deemed ineligible for half the season, and so he'll be back for the second half of the season. But he is on the roster, yes.
And speaking of that nickelback position, it lists Maurice Norris as a starter who has not yet played for the Bulldogs. What can you share about how he earned that job?
Yeah, Maurice was a guy who earned a scholarship after spring, did a phenomenal job. He was playing in the secondary, and as a safety and just really stood out. And his body type and the way he plays, his skills to be able to cover, to be able to be physical in the run game, it really stood out in spring. And we felt like that was a great move. I think he's a great fit for that position. He plays like a linebacker, and but he can cover. He's fast. He's very competitive, very smart, and so we're excited about what he's done there, his progress not only through spring but through fall camp.
Kind of inherited that position compared to the defense previously. Just how did that evolve since you got here and what you wanted to do with the nickelbacks?
Pretty much the same as any nickel situation, and we have a lot of different personnel groups. We're not always going to be a nickel, but when you go to a nickel situation, it's obviously for a lot of teams who play 11 personnel, which means 3 receivers on the field, right? And so heavy pass, and so guys who can play the run out of single back run, but guys who can also cover out in space and run with guys if they get locked up man to man. And so all those guys, that's really what you need to do to play that position, and we feel like he does that very well.
And lastly for me, I want to ask about your O-line, your impression of how that's come along. And it looks like Rosemar Velez has got that open starting position. What's your impression of how that group has come along in camp?
I think it's really improved a lot. I think Coach Tuatelli has done a phenomenal job with that group. Some of the guys that we've had transfer in, or some of our JC guys, have really made a major impact. Asaya, Spomer, Tamalolo, a lot of those guys have really done a great job. And so I think it's really given us an opportunity to be more diverse on the offensive line, to be able to kind of move people around from center to guard, maybe from tackle to guard. So I think our depth is much better there right now. And, if we can stay healthy there, I think we got a good chance to really be productive up front. But we have some guys that can play multiple positions, which always helps.
Do we have any more questions for Coach?
Hi, Coach Samos with the Run Sports Magazine. Some of your student athletes, they've talked about their decision to return and how your decision to return played a factor in their decision to come back. So what is it that you offer to them, in terms of like leadership, and like how do you instill that kind of trust in them to where they want to come back and work some more with you?
Well, I think, was very fortunate in coming back that have recruited most of the kids on this team. So I think when the decision was finally made and I had the opportunity to come back, that some of the kids felt a little bit at ease because they know what the program will be like. They know what it is day to day on how we approach things. I think, the main thing is to build trust and confidence in the kids and in a program. And most of the guys who are still here that are either in their 5th or 6th year or whatever that I was fortunate enough to recruit, I think they understand, and I appreciate all those guys because they made a big difference through this camp. Because when you have a lot of young guys that come into camp, if they don't have the leadership of somebody to be able to guide them, like the players that were here before, to kind of put their mind at ease that everything we do is for a reason, because if you don't have that, sometimes you get a lot of players who are, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But I think the trust level is such because they've been here before under how we do things, that they were able to put a lot of the young guys' mind at ease that, hey, it's all going to be okay. Everything we do here is for a reason. We will be able to recover. We will watch after their bodies. We will make sure they're prepared. So I'm very appreciative of the leadership that we have here and the guys who have grown so much. It's really, when I came back, it was kind of interesting walking through the building and see how people have grown mentally, physically, maturity. Just walking by him, and like Evan Williams, it seems like he's grown 2 inches since we recruited him as a freshman. Zane Pope, the same thing. That they've just changed. I remember sitting in their homes when they were freshmen, and now they're in a leadership role. And so I think the trust level has a lot to do with it, that they know that we're going to care about them on and off the field, and because they've been through it before, and they've been a part of some championship teams, and they really know what the standard is and what the formula is to do our best to be successful.
Any more questions for Coach?
Hey, Coach, I know they don't get talked about much, but can you just describe about your special teams? You know, Abe, Eric Brooks as the kick returner, Nico as the punt returner. You know, just talk about your special teams a little bit.
Yeah, feel really strong about them. Abe has done a great job, earned the spot, earned a scholarship to be our kicker, not just as our field goal kicker, but our kickoff guy. He's done a really nice job there. Carson King has done a nice job as a punter. He's become much more consistent, so we feel good about that. Our return game, we have a handful of people that could do that. You know, listed is Eric and Nico, but we have a lot of skill on this team, a lot of speed on this team that could fill in there. But Nico obviously is a guy, you know, he's an all Pac-12 kick returner. And, you know, so he brings a lot of experience there to that, both as a punt returner and a kickoff returner. Eric Brooks really does everything right. You know, Eric Brooks is a guy who, you talk about a guy years ago that we brought here as a walk-on, and his production and the trust level that we have in him, he just does everything right. You know, and he's such a leader in that receiver room, but also on special teams. So I think as far as special teams are concerned, not just the returners and not just the kickers, but I believe we have a lot of depth and a lot of speed and athleticism with the body types that you need to play special teams. So and Coach Baxter's done a really nice job of evaluating those people and putting them in a position. So, you know, I'm excited to see our special teams play. I think we're going to be really solid there.
All right, Coach, we'll do last questions here.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
How much worry should Jake have with your grandson showing up to practice?
How much worry should Jake?
Should Jake Hayner have with your grandson showing up to practice? Because I'm sure he's gunning for that spot.
Yeah, he's a little young yet. The only thing that really kind of takes my eyes off Jake is my grandson showing up at practice. Besides that, I pretty much have my eyes on Jake every minute of the day. No, it was awesome. You know, it's only happened once. I don't get an opportunity to see my grandson very often. My wife's pretty spoiled that way because she spends a lot of time with him, and so hopefully he comes by today and watches a couple games with me, sits on the couch with me a little bit. So, but it's always great, obviously, to see my grandson. And that one day he came to practice, pretty cool. Jake's came and said hi to him, and so no, it's awesome. It's awesome to have a grandson and just to be around him. Hopefully one day he's out there running around and throwing balls around, but Jake will be long gone by then, so I think Jake's okay.
Is this the start of game week for you, or where does game week start?
Yeah, I mean, Saturday, we got a game on Thursday, so technically this is our Monday. So I guess this is the start of week one, man. So I'm excited about it, and I think it's been a long time coming for a lot of the guys in that locker room, and I think they're just ready to roll.
We were just talking to Coach, and he said he's known you since you were 9 years old. You obviously came here to play with him, as you've told us before. So how does it feel to finally be able to have him as your head coach and be out there on the field?
Yeah, no, it's cool just having that relationship with him and just being able to kind of grow up and have him be one of my mentors through, you know, Pee Wee football, junior high, high school, and even into college, and just having him be that resource for me, and has been someone that's always been there for me. And I think having this opportunity to come back and play for him one more year and just be able to really experience it and take his coaching and criticism and learn from him is something that, you know, I think is really helpful for me, and then, you know, it's going to help me further my career as well.
A bit of a fun question for you. Famously, Matt Leinart at USC, his senior year, took a dance class. Are you taking any interesting classes in your 6th year here?
I wouldn't say I'm taking a dance class, but just a little education stuff. I'm getting my certificate, my master's in education, so just taking it light and you know, trying to be all focused on ball, but also make sure my academics are taken care of as well.
Hey, Jay.
How's it going?
Good. Hey, how much attention, if any, are you guys paying to off-the-field issues like Pac-12 expansion, like the facilities tax that, you know, might get a boost if the Bulldogs
No, I'm just really focused on winning. I think we take care of business. We work really hard. We prepare at a really high level, and we go out on Fridays and Saturdays and take care of business. I think that's what we're worried about. I don't think the expansion stuff is great for Fresno State and some of these other schools that are getting the attention, but as far as we're concerned, we're worried about winning and winning now, and I'm putting all my attention towards Cal Poly this week.
Okay, Jake, right here. Some of you guys, you talked about when you decided to come back, you talked about how the return of Coach played a factor in your decision. So what did you see in Coach that made you want to come back and keep on?
Well, like I said, he's been a mentor of mine since I was a little kid, and just being able to have that relationship and just his background. He's done a really good job with quarterbacks, and he's somebody that I trust and my family trusts, and I just wanted to have the opportunity to play for him, for that 1 year. I came here in 2019 to play for him, and what happened, and I just don't think a lot of people get the opportunity to relive something that you came here for, and I'm just really excited to have that opportunity this season.
Hey Jake.
How's it going?
It's been cool to see Bulldogs take advantage of the NIL opportunities they've had. I just wondered if you had any NIL opportunities and how you're going to proceed with those as you're trying to balance football, focusing on winning games, but also taking advantage of what student athletes now have the opportunity to do.
Yeah. As far as NIL is concerned, during the season, I'm pretty off that wave. During the summer, I took advantage of a couple things here and there that presented themselves. But as far as the season, I'm 100% locked in on winning right now. And all the NIL stuff is great, but I think it can be a distraction at times for people if they don't manage it correctly. And I think me and my family have done a good job of managing it and not making it a distraction and making this the primary focus. And I'm going to continue to do that throughout the season.
The unique situation to play a non-conference opponent back-to-back years. Any thoughts on having Cal Poly come back after just seeing them last year?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have some different looks, and they got a different guy calling the defense this year, so I think it will be interesting on that end. And coming out early and trying to see what they're going to throw at us. I think there's going to be some different things that are thrown our way, and I think we're just trying to do everything we can to prepare and be ready for what they show on Thursday. And I'm going to take this week to prepare like I normally do and go through my routine and just be ready to roll.
Have you consulted in Coach Montgomery at all, having been on the other sideline last year?
Yeah, we talked about it, and he's been in some of the meetings with me and Curb, and has definitely had some input. But like I said, it's a different guy calling the defense this year, and it's going to be a little different. So first games are always tough. You never know what teams are going to throw at you. It might be something completely different that you haven't seen on tape. So defense is defense. We're going to come out and play our game and do what we do, and we'll react.
Coach said for the most part everybody's healthy, so you're going into full camp with all your bullets in that arsenal.
Yeah.
How good as a quarterback does that make you feel, knowing that all your skill position players are ready to roll?
Yeah, no, it's great. I remember last year there were some dings and some things that we were kind of worried about, but this year everybody's healthy. Everybody had a really good camp, and everyone's confident going into it. So Coach Ward made the comment that in the last, I think, 14 or 15 years, he's only had 2 camps where he had everybody completely healthy, and this was one of them. So I think it's really good on our side. I think it's a testament to what Coach Ward did with us in the summer and how guys are taking care of their bodies, and what Coach Tedford's emphasizing with with the guys in the locker room. And I just think we're going to continue to prepare and do everything we need to do to be successful.
I think it was day 2 of fall camp when I asked you how the backup quarterback situation was developing behind you. Seeing Logan's name as number 2 on the depth chart, anything you want to say about his progression in fall camp and how he was last year versus spring this year to fall now?
Yeah, no, I think all those guys have done a really good job, but obviously Logan getting the number 2 spot for right now is something that I'm excited for him, and I think as the season plays on, there's a lot of things that can happen, and you got to keep approaching it one day at a time. And I don't think he can get satisfied with what's going on right now. I think he needs to continue to push himself and continue to prepare. And I told him, just as a number 2, you always got to prepare like you're the starter. I had an opportunity when I was a freshman to go in and play, and I didn't do very well. And that was just because weeks stack on, and it was week 9, week 10, and you never think you're going to get the opportunity. And I just told him to prepare like he's the starter and do everything he can week in and week out to continue to learn and just take full advantage of that opportunity.
Playing on a Thursday gives you an extra couple of days for the second game of the season. I know you guys are looking at Oregon State, but
Yeah.
knowing that you have 2 Pac-12 games in the first 3 games of the season, what type of an opportunity does that present for you guys?
It's obviously a great opportunity, but right now I think we're 100% focused on Cal Poly. I looked at Oregon State, SC, UConn, Boise, some of those other teams this summer just to try to get a head start, and I took my notes and basically got a head start, like I said, on those teams and those games. But it's game week for Cal Poly. It's week 1, and all our attention's on them right now.
People are going to want to know about your connection with the wide receivers. Have you and Jalen Cropper, for example, taken your pre-snap nonverbal communication to another level?
I think we've had our ups and our downs through camp. I think it's a learning curve as far as Jalen moving outside and doing some different things on the perimeter. So I think everybody's going to be excited to see what we do this season. And not going to give anything away right now, but I think it's going to be really exciting to see the rest of those guys, having Nico, having EB, having an enhanced role in the slot, and having Jalen primarily outside is something that I'm really looking forward to, and I think the Red Wave is going to like as well.
When you're out and about in the community, what are people saying to you about this season of Bulldog football?
There's obviously the expectations and there's everything like that, but I think with this whole deal, just being a college quarterback and having those expectations high during the season, I think the one thing you need to do is focus on your preparation and focus on the things that helped get you there in the first place. And my preparation and my focus and my discipline up to this point has gotten me here, and I'm just going to continue to do that and try to block out all the expectations, all the noise, and just stay here with my teammates, stay grounded, and focus, one day at a time.
Jake, just mentioned Nico. What has he brought to this team as a grad transfer?
I think he brings a really mature veteran presence to that room. He's a senior this year, and he's 22 years old. He's been through the ups and downs. He's been on good teams. He's been on not so good teams, and I just think his approach to preparing and how bad he wants to be great is something that this team benefits from, and I think he's going to have a really big impact, in the slot, in the return game, just an overall, multi-tool player that is going to take this offense to the next level.
You mentioned some of the schemes might be different for Cal Poly. Have you gotten a chance to kind of look at the personnel? Is it a deal where maybe you have some new transfers to worry about, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we've talked about personnel, and there's a couple different guys that started playing later in the season that we necessarily didn't see. So we've been taking a peek at some of their later games and just trying to understand personnel, like you said, and then obviously trying to not predict, but just prepare for what they might throw at us on Thursday.
Any more questions for Jake?
I don't.
Hey Jake, I know you mentioned the wide receivers with Jalen and Nico, but talk a little bit about the tight end position. I know that's going to be an emphasis this year with Raymond, Trey, Cameron. So just talk about how much having experience there in Ray and some of the young guys, could benefit you guys as an offense.
Yeah, I think one name that sticks out too is Jake Boust. You didn't mention him. He's done a really good job. He's from JUCO obviously, and is a kid that just works extremely hard. He's a physical presence in that room, and then obviously mix in Trey and Ray and some veteran guys over there that Trey's got a year under his belt, and Ray's obviously played a lot of football here. So as a whole, those guys are ready to roll. I think it's time for them to take the next step, and I think we're going to do some good things in this system that prioritize them in certain areas, and I'm just excited to see how they approach it and how they, I guess you could say, take the opportunity.
Jake, with college football starting today and you guys not playing, Coach said he was going to be plopping down on his couch and watching games. Any particular game that you're interested in watching?
I'm going to be tuned into that Nebraska-Northwestern game. I think that's going to be a pretty good one. And then obviously I want to see how some of the other teams do in our conference. Those Utah State boys over there, I think they got a good squad. I'm curious to see how they take on UConn, and team obviously we're going to end up playing. So I'm going to be watching that one a little bit. And then just kind of relaxing. This is the first kind of day that we have to relax in the last month. So being able to watch some football and, you know, get caught up on treatment, and then obviously get into the game plan a little bit, and as far as the call sheet goes, and just kind of enjoying this Monday that we're getting here to start week 1.
Jake, hearing you talk about preparing for the senior season, your last season inspired this question. Have you talked to Derek Carr and Marcus McMarion? Because they've been in similar situations, especially Derek Carr. He was entering his last season in 2013 in a similar spot as you are. So have you talked to any former Bulldog quarterbacks or any former Bulldogs in general?
I've had some talks with Derek here and there, but as far as, I mean, Derek's busy. He's got a lot of other things that he needs to worry about right now. So I try to, you know, respect his time, respect everything he's got going on. And as far as Marcus, I've talked to him a couple times here and there, but, I mean, there's no secret sauce to it, man. It's all about preparation, all about how hard you work and how hard you want to be great. So I'm doing the best job I can at that, and doing everything I can to be the best leader, best person for this program, this football team, and I think the rest will take care of itself.
All right, last question here.
Jake, you spoke a little bit about outside expectations.
Mhm.
Just curious though, are your internal expectations, your team's expectations, any different than the external expectations?
I mean, I think you set your goals and you set your standards, and you approach the season how you know, everyone else does. But I think different people have different goals and different aspirations, and I think this team obviously is to win the Mountain West Conference with class, integrity, and academic excellence, just like Coach Teddy says every day. And I mean, that's the standard here. That's what we want to get done. That's what we want to accomplish. And like I said, it's only going to get done with great preparation and a will to be great. So that's kind of how we're approaching it. And you can't listen to, you know, the outside noise. It just bogs you down, and people start comparing things. And I think you just got to stay as focused and as grounded as possible throughout this process.